So, if you are job hunting and you apply for a job and a recruiter responds to you, or a recruiter reaches out to you, and the next thing you know, they are asking for your date of birth and your social security number and to sign a right to represent or an RTR, and you are wondering, what is this about? Is this RTR a scam? Why is this recruiter asking for my personal info? We're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you some tools and information that you can use when this happens to you. So, if you are new here, my name is Celeste. On this channel, I talk about creating a life with more freedom. And one of the tools that I use to do that is contract work. Now, you might be asked to sign a right to represent, or you may be working with a recruiter even for a full time job. So, the information that I'm going to share is going to be relevant for those cases as well. But just know that this is really common in the contract job market. And so a lot of what I'm going to say is going to be geared toward that. So hopefully, in either case, you'll get something out of this. So, what is a right to represent or an RTR? A right to represent is basically a statement or agreement that you are giving a recruiter permission to submit you as a candidate for a specific job. They might call it, what's the other? Oh, a rate agreement. You might see it called that, or they may have some other term. But basically, that's what it means. What's included in the right to represent? So, usually this is it's an email. It's not, I mean, I said sign, but you're not really signing. Like, it's usually just an email, although sometimes the recruiter may have a system where you go in and enter, like put in your information. But usually it's an email, and it states what the job title is, the job ID number, um, the name of the agency, the name of the client that you will be performing the work for. So like the employer, the actual employer that you will be doing the job for, the location, remote or, in whatever location you happen to be in, the contract duration for a contract job, and the rate that you'll be paid. So those are some of the typical things that you'll see. You may see it like it looks like legalese. It might say like, you know, I grant permission to Celeste's agency to submit me for the role of math tutor at a rate of $40 an hour, right? Or sometimes it's just like a list of bullet points that kind of recaps like what you and the recruiter discussed on the phone. This is the job description, bullet points, this is the rate, whatever, right? So a lot of times recruiters and agencies are required by the client or the employer to make sure that they have that written permission from you before they submit you to a role. And that's to make sure that they aren't submitting you without permission, or without your knowledge. Let's talk about what recruiters do with your information. They ask you for, date of birth. Usually it's the month and day, not the year. And they'll ask you for the last four digits of your social security number. And it should be those things. It shouldn't be your full SSN, and it shouldn't be your full date of birth. So that's important to know. But what they do with it is basically a lot of these recruiters are competing against other agencies to fill the same job. So unless there is an exclusive agreement in place, an employer just says, like, we have this opening, you know, everybody go try and fill it for us, and whoever gets the business is who gets paid. So that's kind of the landscape of what you're dealing with. And so, because the employer is dealing with all of these different agencies, all submitting candidates, they have to have some system to keep track of this. So, they have a system that tracks all of the candidates that come through the various agencies. And so, when your recruiter or your agency asks you for that information, they are entering that information into this candidate tracking system, and your SSN and date of birth is how you are identified as a candidate in that system. So that is why they're asking. Um, the agency is required to have that and enter it into the system in order to submit you as a candidate. Autofocus does not want to focus on me. Um, okay. If you are concerned about your privacy, which is a very real thing, and I definitely understand that, one tip I have for you is that you can ask if you can provide a PIN instead, like a PIN number, instead of the last four of your social. Because again, the point is just that they want to be able to identify you in the system. So let's just talk about like why all of this is kind of, it might be unusual if you're not used to navigating the contract job market. I sign right to represent, you know, agreements all the time, so I'm used to it. But like if it's new to you or you haven't worked with a recruiter before, you might be kind of caught off guard by this. So just know that it's a standard part of the process. It's definitely different than a direct hire situation because you are providing personal information on the front end before you've had a single interview. Um, it's very early in the process for them to be asking for this type of information. So, definitely something that you might not be expecting. Again, just with the job market the way it is and all the scams, like they are scamming out here with all the scams going on. Like you do really want to be careful um, about who you give your information to, and you do want to make sure that it's a legitimate opportunity, especially for Black women. We know we have been impacted more than most with what's going on in the job market right now. So, yeah, I definitely just want to make sure you have this information and you know what is happening behind the scenes when you are being asked to hand over personal information. If you need some assistance with trying to figure out if a recruiter or a job opportunity or a company is real or not, I have a video that talks about all of this in depth. It's called How to Spot Job Scams and Fake Recruiters. And so I go through a bunch of steps that you can do to check out these recruiters who are contacting you or who you see on LinkedIn or wherever, and make sure that they are indeed legitimate individuals or companies. Side note, so apparently there are people out here like using the names of real recruiters and the LinkedIn profiles of real recruiters that are scammers. So you really, really have to do your due diligence. So go check out that video. Not yet. Finish watching this one and then go check out that video. So I want to know if you have ever had this happen to you where a recruiter asked you for personal information and you thought it was a scam. And what did you do? Leave a comment and let me know. I already said that multiple agencies are competing for the same job. That means there are some things that you need to do before you sign an RTR. You may experience recruiters trying to rush you or pressure you. They might say things like, this role is moving quickly, or interviews are happening now, or language like that. It's very important to not let them rush you. They are rushing you because They want to be the first to submit you and hopefully get the fee if you end up getting hired. But we don't want to make their emergency our emergency. So I'm going to give you a few steps that you can take to make sure you do your due diligence. You want to make sure that you get the best total compensation package. So that's not just the rate, that's other benefits. And you want to get the best deal, basically, that works for your lifestyle. The first thing I want you to do is check the market rate for for that job title. So you can go to places like salary.com, even Glassdoor. You basically want to look at like, what does this job title pay, in my geographic area? And is that comparable to what is being offered by this recruiter, right? Just are we in the same ballpark? The next thing you want to do is you want to find that same job posted by another agency. You want to see if there's another agency out there hiring for the same role. So you'll get better at this over time, but one dead giveaway, I'll just give you one off the top of my head. One dead giveaway that I've noticed is if I get a bunch of recruiters in my inbox in the same, across the span of the same like 3 days or the same week, I'm like, oh, it's the same job. This is multiple agencies trying to fill the same job. But another way is just, go on LinkedIn or your platform of choice, search for the job title. You want to look for things like you can look for common phrases in the job description, or you can look for, industry and location. So, like, if you search for, I don't know, pick a job title, and the description says, like, a large consumer products company based in Atlanta, like, that's Coca-Cola, right? Like, you can kind of figure it out. So yeah, so find the same job description that you're considering, find it through another agency. And then once you have that, then we want to start comparing some things. We definitely want to compare the rate because we care about our money, right? And here's a tip. Hourly rates can vary widely between agencies for the exact same job at the exact same client. So it really does pay to shop around before you sign with any of them. Okay. I learned this the hard way. Unfortunately, I had agreed to be submitted by a staffing agency. And then I saw the same job posted for $5 more an hour. But I had already agreed to let the first agency submit me for the role. So it is really important to do your due diligence, even if you've been in the market for a while and you're desperate for a job and all of that, like still just take a moment, do a little research, get the best deal that you can get. Okay. Oh, I want to tell you about something I have coming up that I'm very excited about. I'm going to be speaking at the 2026 Job Liberation Summit happening May 1st through 3rd. It's virtual, it's all online. What is my topic? My topic is from layoff to leverage, finding contract roles, which is, what we're talking about today. So I'm going to be sharing tips and information to help you learn more about the contract job market and how you can use that to earn income if you find yourself laid off, or it's just a tool to have in your toolkit that can kind of get you through no matter what is going on in the broader job market. So I hope that you join. Let me tell you where you can get tickets. tinyurl.com/Celeste dash job lib, JOBLIB. There's going to be over 20 Black women experts talking to us about how to navigate through these times, how to give ourselves options, how to take control, and be prepared in spite of all the things that are going on right now. So, again, I hope that you join. Early bird tickets are available through March 31st. After that, price goes up. I will have a link for you in the description. And back to our regularly scheduled program. I was talking about getting the best rate and how we really need to look at the whole package. So there are some things that you want to ask the recruiter or the agency. You want to ask about paid holidays. Do they offer paid time off? Is there a 401k? Is there a match to that 401k? What benefits do they offer? And you want to request, this is important, you want to request the benefits booklet from the agency because that is going to have the prices for health insurance and other things. And you need that information to know what the take home pay is going to be because there's no point just going for whoever has the higher rate. Like if that agency's rate is higher, but their health insurance costs are also higher out of pocket, then that basically eats up the cost of the higher rate. So you want to be able to compare apples to apples. And in order to do that, you need all the information. So I would get in the habit of asking every agency I talk to, oh, that's great. Would you mind sending me your benefits booklet? They have it. It shouldn't be a big deal for them to provide that information. For contract jobs, you do your negotiating on the front end, not the back end. So for a direct hire, full-time situation, you would interview first and then you would get an offer and then you would say, I actually need this other amount, this higher amount. For contract jobs, you do all of that negotiating before you sign the right to represent. So that is why I'm really trying to drive home that you need to do your due diligence on the front end because you want to ask for what you need before you sign and let them submit you. Okay? So that's why all of this is important. The other reason to do this on the front end is because you really have one bite at the apple, so to speak. Meaning, like, technically you could apply for a job with multiple different agencies, but remember I said that you, as a candidate, you go into that system that the client has. If they see that you've applied to the same job through multiple agencies, a lot of times they'll just like disqualify you basically for that role. So that's definitely something you want to avoid doing. So yeah, by doing your research on the front end and going with the best agency and getting the best deal, you can avoid like trying to figure out how to be double submitted, which is really kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. Another thing to vet while you're looking at agencies is kind of the intangibles, like what is their reputation? Um, are they, and a lot of this you can tell just from your own interaction with them. Like, are they responsive and forthcoming? Do they seem like they care about you and your career, or are they just trying to like hurry up and get paid? Yeah, are they easy to reach? Do they seem like they are competent and have it together? That sort of stuff. I do have some more tips about like what to look for, signs, and things like that in that same video that I mentioned before, um, about how to spot job scams. And it it does make a difference. Like having a good agency experience definitely matters. I worked on a team where all of us had the same job title, but we were all with like a bunch of different agencies, and people's experiences were vastly different, depending on who their agency was. So, it does matter. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. It does matter. Make sure you research, try to find out as much as you can. I've given you some resources to help you do that. Um, but we want to make sure we have all of the information before we sign an RTR. So hopefully you have found these tips helpful. I know it was a lot. But again, if you're in the contract job market, being asked to sign an RTR is a standard practice. Being asked for these pieces of personal information is a standard practice. However, scams are out there, so you do want to make sure you know who you are dealing with, and you want to make sure that you are giving the specific pieces of information that are required, meaning just your month and day of birth, not the year, and just the last four of your social, not the whole thing. Um, and you want to make sure that you are getting the best deal for you, meaning that you are looking at the agency itself and how they operate. You were looking at the whole compensation package, and you were comparing that to what else is out there in the marketplace for the same role, to make sure that you are getting the best deal for you. If you enjoy this video, if you learned something from it, please click the like button because that will help others find this information who may need it. And if you want to continue having conversations with me about contract jobs, about designing your life and creating more freedom, please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.